Thank you, Mrs. Clementi, for your moving speech. And thank you all for joining us in what has been an amazing weekend. I'm HRC Youth Ambassador Joey Kemmerling, and I'm here to introduce you to Dr. Beverly Hutton. Dr. Hutton's career has included over 20 years in school leadership and administration, and she joins us today as a representative of the National Association of Secondary School Principals, an advocacy and leadership organization for school principals and other school leaders, where she is leading the way in making schools safer and more supportive places for LGBTQ youth. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Beverly Hutton.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm delighted to bring greetings to you on behalf of the National Association of Secondary School Principals, and as Joey said, my name is Beverly Hutton. And at NASSP, I serve as the Deputy Executive Director of all of the programs and services that we offer to our members. We are an organization of about 20,000 principals, assistant principals, and aspiring leaders in high schools and middle schools across the nation. I hope our name is familiar to many of you, but even if it is not, I think you will probably be familiar with some of our widely regarded student leadership programs, because NASSP is the founder and the home of the National Honor Society and the National Association of Student Councils, which we serve more than 1 million students each year. So in addition to supporting and developing principals, we also develop and dedicate a great deal of our resources to supporting and building student leadership as well. So our vision at NASSP is one of great leaders in every school, committed to the success of each student. And as a leadership organization, we work quite a bit with principals on the single most important thing a principal can influence in their school, and that is school culture. Culture can be a very difficult concept to pin down, and it's often given to these really abstract definitions like the organization's collective beliefs and values. And while that is correct, it's not really accessible. So let me try to make the definition a little bit more concrete. A school's culture can be defined by the worst behavior the leader will accept. And I'll say that again in case you're trying to tweet it. Tweet it. School culture can be defined by the worst behavior the leader is willing to accept. Now, how does that translate into practice? Well, when students see adults moving mountains on their behalf to help them become successful, like we see every day in schools across the country, students learn that they have value. But if the leader fails to act to improve the people in the environment who only do the bare minimum each day, the culture that demands the best of each student is compromised. And then students start to question whether their value is just lip service. In the same way, you can maintain order in the hallways and fight the hat wars and even buy the most expensive character education program available, but if you stand by and fail to act as a child is harassed because of her skin color, or because her English skills are still developing, or because she identifies as gay, or because she was declared a male at birth, then students learn that such a child deserves to be harassed, that she is the other, not like us, not one of us, not worthy, not respectable. And I won't presume to tell this group about the unimaginable pain that can accompany being an LGBT student in high school, or about the shrinking chances of an LGBT student doing any real learning in such an environment. But I will assert, from a school-wide perspective, a leader's failure to act in that kind of situation, their willingness to accept the worst kind of behavior, perpetuates bigotry into a whole new generation. And unlike the lessons they learn in class, students carry that lesson for life. Some carry that bigotry lesson all the way into their careers as state legislators, and they introduce the bathroom bills that are sweeping across and through state houses. They introduce bills that let counselors invoke their religion as a reason for refusing to provide a transgender student the services she needs, as if schools existed for adults and not children. They might carry that lesson all the way to the governor's mansion, like in Maine, where the governor is preventing his own education department from issuing guidance to principals to help them comply with a court ruling that upheld the rights of a transgender student. Ironically, what we are hearing in our offices is that it's this very guidance that principals across the country are looking for. We principals, like all of you, got into the business of education because we believe deeply that we can help build a better future. But in the face of so much noise and hostility, some principals are reaching out for some political cover as they try to do the right thing. And NASSP is happy to provide that cover. And in the upcoming months, we'll be reaching out to HRC, to GLSEN and other organizations, and we'll be identifying principals who have successfully and compassionately counseled students through gender transition so that we can identify effective practices that we can disseminate to our membership. The Student in Transition Guide, which HRC and NEA helped to develop, along with several other organizations, is one of the very best tools that we have to disseminate to our members, and I highly recommend that to each one of you. Our guidance on supporting transgender students will align with the new set of principal standards, the Professional Standards for Education Leaders, which was adopted in October of 2015 by the National Policy Board for Ed Admin and the Chief Council of State School Officers. These standards are really a big deal because the states will adopt them as the foundation of their principal preparation programs. NASSP helped to lead the revision of those standards, and we advocated vehemently for including a new standard that expands the definition of equity to include any student who is marginalized based on race, class, culture and language, gender identity and gender orientation, and disability or special status. So please remind principals that their professional organization and the very standards that guide the profession provide them with the cover that they need to support all students, including those who identify as LGBT. It is not an option to do otherwise. Some principals will present countless reasons why they can't make it a priority. But as a longtime principal, I understand the obstacles and the possibilities of the job. And I can tell you that any objection illustrates the old adage that if it's important, you'll find a way, and if it isn't, you'll make an excuse. But principals, though, most principals, though, will do what great principals, great educators have always done. They'll muscle past the politics and the obstacles to get each student the support they need to fulfill their greatest potential. So I thank you again for having me, for inviting me to participate with you. I thank you to the Human Rights Campaign for allowing us to be here with you today, and I'm excited about strengthening our partnership with HRC on behalf of all LGBT students. And I thank you for the work that you do. So keep fighting the good fight, and please know that you have a friend in NASSP. Thank you so much.